Welcome back to another episode of the West Dakota Dad. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to me. If you could do me a favor though, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, rating, review, whatever it is. It really helps me out to reach out to more and more people. With that being said, today we are going to be talking about how this year's Total Archery Challenge went, followed by the 4th of July. But to start things off, I gotta mention my wife is a rock star. And even though I already knew this from various other things in her life, and, well, our lives, this one I just now realized. And she probably knew this way before me. When it comes to traveling, there's a difference between when I travel with her compared to when I travel alone, and how many things are forgotten to be packed. See, when I travel with her, it's very rare that we forget to pack anything. She's just on point. And when I travel by myself, which is usually to the Total Archery Challenge because I don't really do a whole lot of traveling by myself, I forget things. The first year I mentioned I forgot a raincoat, so I had to go buy one. The second year I forgot to pack some sort of hiking shoe of some sort, so I had to go buy some hiking boots. And then this last year I forgot toothpaste and a belt. Thankfully, I didn't have to really buy either of those because I still had my toothbrush, so I was able to at least brush my teeth. Unfortunately, I did not have the advantage of minty freshness, and it was only one night, so one day of sacrificing there. And then as far as the belt goes, I basically took a ratchet strap from my pickup, took off the ratcheting part, wrapped that baby around me 3 times, tied the knot, and boom, good as new. If they don't find you handsome, they'll at least find you handy, according to the Red Green Show. But, yeah, so crisis averted. So this year's Total Archery Challenge, actually, before I even get that, I probably owe my wife an apology. And so I'm sorry if you are watching, babe, that I have really slacked on the packing. And for future, I will help out further to pack. And now I have it recorded, and it will be on the internet. So I have no excuse in order and otherwise to follow up, and yeah. Anyways, so this year's Total Archery Challenge went great. We first started off, I woke up late, and then that resulted in me not getting as much warm-up time to shoot some arrows and everything as I would have liked to, but it was all good. The second thing I found out when we got up there that we were doing the Yeti course, and I've done the Leopold. Well, the difference is the Leopold it's a little bit easier of a course. I don't want to say it's like a beginner's course because there are some challenging shots in it, but for the most part, most of our shots on the Leopold were pretty level. There wasn't as many uphill or downhill shots, and there wasn't as many threading the needle between trees and stuff on the Leopold as the Yeti, whereas the Yeti is pretty much everything is up or down or shooting through the trees and stuff. So, and then the Leopold also, you don't normally shoot over 60 yards, whereas the Yeti, there are a couple targets that you will shoot past 60 yards. So, which isn't a huge deal because you can always just move up. So I had to do that with a couple of them because I only have a 60-yard pin on my bow. But, so yeah, that was the first challenge. So when we got to the top, the very first target was 68 yards away. It was windy, and it was cold, and a little bit drizzly. These are my excuses that I'm going to stick with. And so as I drew back, I let that arrow fly, and I nailed it. Now, it, not necessarily meaning the target, it being a rock that ceased to live after my arrow had completely shattered it. My arrow being the one shattered, by the way. I think the rock actually probably was still kicking. So I missed the first one. Then we went down to the second target, and I donated an arrow into Mother Nature, and I'm sure the guys, as they cleaned up everything, would have found it, but I lost the second arrow on the second target, so we're not doing too hot right away. I only brought 9 arrows with me, and out of the first 8 targets of 25, I was already down 4 arrows. So I was starting to do calculations in my head like, okay, I have to at least hit the target this many times in order to finish with one arrow. Or at least be able to finish the course, I should say. So I had that going through my mind. So that was interesting. But after that, actually, I must have warmed up a little bit, stuck to my form and what I knew and my practice and everything, and it went pretty well. I didn't hit a whole lot of bullseyes, but I at least hit the target on almost all of them after that, and it was a lot of fun. We didn't have all the same faces as we usually did. A couple of were missing, and we had a couple of new ones in their place, which was awesome because I got to meet some new friends, and we had a really good time. So yeah, that's kind of how the Total Archery Challenge went this year. Looking forward to it next year. And so with that being said, let's move on to the second segment here of talking about the 4th of July. So the 4th of July has always been one of my favorite holidays. It's in the summertime, you know, you got your friends around, you know, there's fireworks, what's not to love? Growing up in the town of Piedmont, we always had a parade that circled our park, which was kind of right in the direct center of, I guess you could say, downtown Piedmont. But it was always fun. I always participated in whether it was youth group in the parade or I would just ride my bike in the parade, and sometimes I would spectate and everything. And then afterwards, since our park was pretty big, we also had a baseball, like a youth baseball diamond kind of connected to it. And so after the parade, we'd get a little game of baseball going, and then my parents usually were a little bit more lenient on what we were doing. They didn't keep as tight of tabs on us as they would have normally, because they knew we'd be running around with friends around town. And if we weren't at the park, you know, they could dial any landline in Piedmont and pretty much find out where we were, because this was before cell phones, of course. So yeah, it was always fun. The Piedmont Parade actually started to really get bigger and bigger, and it's a really big deal now. People from all over the Black Hills come to the small town of Piedmont for the parade, and there's hundreds of floats. People park up to or over a mile away early in the morning just to get down there and to get a spot to watch this parade and all the festivities that go on with that. So I'll have to get my family down there one of these years to check it out and see what's going on, because I've only seen drone footage from social media on it. So pretty neat either way. But yeah, so then I moved to Dickinson, and they have some festivities as well for the 4th of July, known as Rough Rider Days, where they have a big rodeo the first weekend. They got a demolition derby. They got dirt track races. They have like a 5K, 10K run. They have a parade. They have a concert. I mean, there's so many different activities that go around Rough Rider Days, and people from all over come to that as well. So it's always been a great time around the 4th. And people's moods are, everyone's usually pretty cheery. They're kind of united and whatever, because we're all celebrating our independence and our freedoms and whatnot. So what's not to love about the 4th of July? And even though there's a lot of tension, I guess you could say, with political differences, and sometimes we feel like our rights are being infringed upon and everything, overall, I feel like we are pretty lucky to live in the United States, because regardless of all that and all the tensions and what may be happening, we still, at this time, have it pretty well off compared to a lot of other countries. I think I heard that Canada, during the COVID and everything, they had some really strict lockdown and quarantine laws in effect, or I guess you could say restrictions, I should say, in effect, and they lasted a lot longer than the United States did. And so that would have been the most ideal place to have residencies in Canada. I mean, there's obviously positives and negatives to every country. And then other countries, you got a bunch of third world countries in Africa that, there's just no order, and there's a lot of crime and everything. And then I know in China, I believe, you can't really practice Christianity. It's a big no-no. So, yeah, I mean, in America, there's a lot of positives to live in here, and it's awesome to be able to celebrate that on the 4th, and with some fireworks and some good foods from the barbecue and all that other jazz. So it's it's kind of why it's always been one of my favorite holidays. As I'm recording this, it's just getting started, so I'll have to fill you in on another episode of how the 4th of July went, and my wife has a class reunion this year, so we got some really fun things planned, and yeah. So I got a scripture for you guys today. It comes from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, starting with verse 16 through 18. Always be joyful, never stop praying. Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. And now that's a fun verse because it's just a simple reminder to be joyful, don't stop praying, and just be thankful. And that's what we should be doing every single day. So there's my little update episode for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you had a great 4th, because by the time you listen to this, all the 4th of July activities will probably have come to an end, but just I hope everyone has a great week and has a great 4th of July, and until next time, I'm the West Dakota Dad. Thanks for listening.